Hey everybody, I'm Lisa Brennan.
And I'm Justin Trice. Welcome
Welcome
to
to
Crime
Crime
of
of
the
the
Arts.
Arts, a true crime podcast that takes a peek behind the curtain. Nope. That takes a, what is it? What does it say? Line.
A true crime podcast that peeks behind the curtain to
Okay.
shine a
A true,
light.
a true crime podcast that peeks behind the curtain to shine a light on the dark and untold truths of the creative arts.
From film set mysteries to celebrity murders and art heist, these two theater nerds will usher you into the unknown.
Unknown. Oh, I can't believe I had to call line on the intro that I wrote. I'm fine.
I was like, line, I haven't heard that in a very long time.
I haven't said it in a long time. Okay, so this week my story is about the Bling ring.
The Bling ring. Okay. I have no idea what that is, but that sounds either very 90s hip hop slash boy band funny, or we're going to find out.
You
And
sure are.
my story, I'm going to end up telling you about one of America's top music producers, icons, moguls, once upon a time. Some of you might already know him, Phil Spector. We're going to talk about his potential descent into some stuff.
I have
We're going to talk about it.
absolutely no idea. I don't know why. I don't even know who Phil Spector is in my head. I have no image, nothing anchoring this.
It's one of those things because I don't know. Looking at him, he seems like an every type of person, everyday person, like average. But I don't know. You've probably seen his pictures before. Later on, I was like, this is the guy. But yeah, we're gonna talk about that in a little bit.
Well, I think you're first this week. What episode are we on?
Ooh, it's funny. We're like beyond episode numbers because we always.
I know we're just
for
all
those of you
now.
listening and watching, and we always record. A lot of times we're recording a bulk, so it's like we're releasing this and it's all new to you guys, but we're like, I don't know, the numbers blur. It's one thing for us. Yeah, I'm like, where am I? Let's take a look at that right now. We hope those of you that have already signed up on the Patreon and have been enjoying the benefits of seeing this a whole week early.
Let's talk about the Patreon.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I'll plug Patreon while you look up whatever you're looking at. So we do now have a Patreon. You can go over to patreon.com/crime of the arts podcast. We have loaded our first video. There's going to be another video coming out, and every week we're going to record and put that video up of us recording on the Patreon. Shout out to our only patron, Carrie Ola Brennan, aka Aunt Carrie, aka the lady with the caution tape.
Yes, Carrie.
You're the best.
You're the best.
aka the Auntie Granty. Yeah, I mean, check us out. We have some cool merch coming out. We have some stickers. We got some things. So go on and give us a listen. Give us a watch.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. And also, if you subscribe, you technically see the video like a week before, right? The actual podcast release. No, okay, forget it.
No, just this time. just the one time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, moving.
But we got
forward,
a lot of shit. We got a lot of stuff.
Every day that the episode is dropped on your hearing sets, you can watch it on the Patreon. So every Wednesday, both will be dropped and available to you. And you can choose however you would like to consume it.
Yep. You could choose to listen, to our usual explicit content conversation, or you can actually watch it all uncut and see our expressions and
you get
our eyes pop out of our heads.
There's a lot less censoring and editing in the video. Pretty much there's no editing. You get us 100%. So you may have a little bit more content too in the video.
So the episode that we last released on there, that was episode number 22, but we have one coming out Wednesday, which would be 23. So I don't know. Is it all right? So I'm still going first. It's hard to figure out
23. Then I'll go first.
Okay, yeah, because the one coming out this week's the 23rd. So
okay.
Yeah.
So my story today is about a California-based crime group consisting of 7 teenagers and adults known as the Bling Ring. You've never heard of this?
No, I've never heard of this, but this is already sounding like, I don't know, like a fucking boy band group from the 90s. I don't.
You're way off base. So,
okay.
An infamous friend group targeted residencies of Hollywood and Calabasas, totaling dozens of break-ins and raking in over $3 million in stolen cash and personal
What?
items from A-listers. I think that the A-listers is debatable, but we'll get there.
Okay,
Um,
okay, okay.
there's a documentary series on Netflix about this that interviews the actual people who were a part of this real life scenario. And there is a Sophia Coppola made a movie about this group, and Emma Watson is the lead ringleader, quote unquote.
What was the name of this movie? I don't think I've seen it
I
because.
think it's called The Bling Ring.
Okay, yeah, no, I definitely did not see this movie.
Yeah, I didn't never heard of it. I didn't know it until I watched the documentary because it looks like something I probably would have watched. I like her. Um, so I'm gonna stop touching my mic. Why is it doing this? I'm fine. Hold on, please. Ugh.
Holds, please. Up, it's the Phantom Wire. I thought I saw.
Send me off. Okay. I'm trying to get to my
You're good.
to my mouse on my computer. And I'm having idiot difficulties, not even technical difficulties. I'm just an idiot. Okay. Stop moving. Okay. So, who are the real deal players in the Bling Ring? It was a group, and they consisted of a bunch of rich kids for the most part. Their names are Rachel Lee, Nick Pergo, Courtney Ames, Alexis Nears, and Diana Tomeo.
Okay.
And they brought in two other grown ass men named Johnny Ajar and Roy Lopez. And they were later recruited by Ames to be designated people responsible for selling the items once they were stolen.
They had a whole organized
A
little
ring.
crime. Yeah, they
Yeah,
had a
they have
theft
a
ring.
syndicate.
Yeah, I was gonna say a theft syndicate going on here. Like
Yeah.
they were, and these were kids that really thought this out. Okay,
Teenagers.
don't do crime, folks. I'm just saying it's well thought out for teenagers.
It's not as you'll see. Just hold on. It
Oh
sounds
boy.
like it could have been a genius scenario.
See, I
It
was
was
about
not.
to give them all the praise, like the American animals. Remember that story we
But those
covered
people
with
were a
the
bunch of idiots
they
too.
they no, but that's the point that I was making. They were
Oh,
idiots. These guys on paper, what you just said sounded like they were legit, but there's more apparently. So I'm gonna wait.
keep your pants on. Okay. So it all started. I'm just going to use their first names because it's just easier.
Okay.
It all started when Nick met Rachel in 2006 at Indiana Hills High School. And that's where he had transferred after he'd been kicked out of Calabasas High School for excessive absences.
Ooh.
And they became an inseparable pair in constant contact, texting, IMing, calling each other. And around this time, Nick had become estranged from his parents, but he found kinship in Rachel because she was also not getting along with her mother and her stepfather.
Of course.
And I mean, these are rich kids in Hollywood. You know, they're not. They have a
Oh,
lot to complain about for first world
do you
problems.
mean yeah, perfect world problems. It's like it's like half those CW shows. It's like my world is falling apart. Nothing will ever be as good as this current moment while I'm staring at the lake and my parents are rich, but I have all these woes.
Yeah, woe is me. Oh, life is so hard. You don't have a clue. So, so throughout the 10th grade, which how old are you in 10th grade? Like 15? Um,
If that, yeah.
yeah.
I was like 13, 14, yeah.
So they were a bunch of carefree kids, smoking pot, hanging out at the beach, going to parties, playing beer pong, and that sounds a lot like my high school experience. But that summer things started to change. So Rachel proposed that they rob a house of a boy in Woodland Hills who Nick knew would be out of town. Seems like a strange jump from like beer pong.
This is so yeah. Where's the transition yet? At like
That was
one
it.
moment, we were just kicking ass and winning beer pong, and they're like, "This is such a great rush," but you know, it'd
Like,
be really
oh,
better.
Jonathan's out of town. Let's go rob his
Let's
parents'
go
rich
rob his
house.
parents out of Woodland Hills, which is a very fucking rich area out there.
Yes.
Let's go rob his parents while he's not here.
It's weird, right? What a weird jump. Um, so they did. She was like, "Hey, let's go do this." And he was like, "All right, I want to like sound cool and please her." So he said, "Okay, let's go." So once they got inside the house, Nick started to freak the fuck out. He's like, "It was really weird going through someone else's stuff like that." which I can imagine. I mean, that's like a normal feeling to have, I think. But Rachel was like
Yeah.
really fucking into it and focused.
That's
And
weird. Did Rachel do this shit before? And
it's a really good question. They never really touch on that.
okay.
I think that she's a fucking crazy person.
I was gonna say I think she's either crazy or she might have been like born a klepto, and this was just
She's
her going to the
fucking
next level right
she's
now.
a psychopath. So that night she found a box with 8 grand in cash under her bed. And
Damn.
Nick seemed to like really calm down after they found that because, not so bad. They
It
each
was
got
beer
four
pong
grand for a
money.
night. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean that's who keeps 8 grand in a bed? I mean in cash under their bed. Like just in a box.
citizens of Woodland Hills apparently.
I guess so. Why don't you have a safe? You must own many expensive things. So he's like, that's not so bad. Like, we didn't kill anybody. It was kind of easy. Nothing really happened.
Right.
So the next day they took their 8 grand and they went shopping on Rodeo Drive. Easy peasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they fell into this like nearly nightly ritual of doing what they called quote unquote checking cars. And what that means is that one of them would drive the car down the street where all the cars, like say they went to like a house party or something.
Yeah.
And there would be cars parked all the way down the street. And one of them would drive and one of them would walk and check the handles on all the cars.
They're
And
just
when
like walking up because all those streets are kind of hilly. They're just
they're
walking up the
walking up
hill, just
in the
opening.
reenactment, they're walking down the hill in the
Oh,
video
see, there you
of the
go.
documentary. Um, and so they would find unlocked cars and steal all the credit cards and cash out of the, Bentleys, Mercedes, and other fancy cars parked in parking in neighborhoods. So they would drive around, not even parties, just random places, get out, check the car, rob it. And in an interview, Nick says that he doesn't remember exactly why he and Rachel decided to start burglarizing celebrities' homes, except that the women that they burglarized had a beautiful fashion sense. So Rachel watched shows like The Hills and Gossip Girl,
Of
and she
course.
loved clothes. Let's get some shows. And yeah, so I mean, just watching how they kind of came up with this. If they weren't so fucking stupid, they could probably be billionaires. Because okay, listen. This is have to give them a little bit of credit because they did research. So as much as they just couldn't finish is pretty much what it is. They had all of this built up, their actual research beforehand.
They had
They
the
go pull
research
it off,
down, but the execution was
but
not
then
up
they
to
just kept
par.
they just wanted to keep all the shit. Like there was no selling, there was no money making, there was nothing like that.
That's so weird.
So this was their this was their research. They would start checking up on celebrity websites like TMZ, and they would see which celebrities were out of town at like movie premieres or had booked appearances. And then they would drive by the houses of those celebrities and do some surveillance, figuring out how they could get in. And I mean, they were like master con men at 18 years old. Like they had so many pieces kind of lined up.
That's wild.
So their first victim that they picked was Paris Hilton because they said she was quote unquote dumb. And if you know anything about Paris Hilton, that's actually quite the opposite. Like, have you ever heard her life story or like watched any of the documentaries or podcasts about
I
her?
have heard her life story, but because she portrayed herself the way she portrayed herself with Nicole Richie, I mean,
Hmm. So she's
I
got
can't
this
fault them for that. Yeah.
for sure, for sure. And she's definitely like an idiot in everything that she portrayed herself and looks as if she's, this Hollywood rich kid whose underwear showing when she gets out of her Lamborghini at some nightclub, right? But that's who they picked. So one night in October of 2008, Nick Pergo and Rachel Lee entered Hilton's sprawling tile roofed mansion in a gated community in Hollywood Hills. Opening the front door with a key they found under the fucking front mat.
Damn.
To be fair, that is kind of dumb. Probably don't do that. So they opened the door and they found the sensation of suddenly being in Paris Hilton's house. Horrifying. Like you get this like wow factor that it is her house, but then as soon as you step inside the door, you're just like, oh fuck, I just
We
broken
crossed
entered
the
into the
line.
house.
We
Yeah.
crossed the new line. We didn't mind when it was like Tommy's parents or whoever the fuck's parents it was, but
Right.
now this is a celebrity, someone we watch. Like
Well,
I
and it's someone you don't actually know. So you've
Mhm.
really breaking and entering charges are pretty on point for what you just did just by walking in the door.
Oh, 100%.
So Nick was the lookout at the top of the stairs while Rachel went into Hilton's bedroom to search for her valuables. And again, Nick was freaking out. And in the interview, he talks about how he was like sweating unnaturally. And then every 5 minutes, he would just yell, "Let's get the fuck out of here." Um, but Rachel, cool as a cucumber, kept saying, it's fine, let's keep going. Because she's a fucking crazy person.
She is
Um,
crazy. She's like, "No,
so
it's all right. Let's just keep
it's
going."
fine.
She's
It's
probably already in
totally
the
fine.
closet raiding the clothes.
So Rachel took expensive bras and designer dresses that night, and they took a bottle of Grey Goose from Paris Hilton's nightclub room, which was in quotes in this article. I
A
dying to know
whole
what that looks like.
nightclub room, a whole
Yeah,
nightclub room, and you take fucking Grey Goose.
just one
Like
bottle of Grey Goose.
one bottle of Grey Goose. How basic are you? So they were just over there. She's like, "Oh, there's something here. I don't know. It's
I
called
took
like
this
Dos
Gucci
Equis or
purse.
Gucci purse." And
I took and then this Louis Vuitton shoes, and then I just vodka.
there were some whiskeys there, but I didn't know the names. It was just something I couldn't pronounce
She
in
wouldn't even be able to tell
French.
you whiskey.
Yeah, exactly. So
um, so I lost my place. Okay, so along with the Grey Goose, they also when they were going through all of her purses, Paris Hilton just stored her money in crumpled balls of cash shoved in the different purses in her closet. So like just hundreds and fifties of just like who first of all, what fucking serial killer just takes cash, just crumbles it up, throws it in a purse? That's insane to me. Like, don't you are you not an insane person who keeps your money straight in your wallet? Like,
uh,
what are you doing?
that's
I'm an insane
funny.
person who like puts it in numerical order.
Well, see, at first, maybe I was thinking back then she's only crumbling. I don't know. Maybe she had a whole system. Like hundreds are a bigger crumbled ball, 50s are a smaller one. I don't
You
know.
giving Paris
20,
too much
20s
credit
is
here, buddy.
origami. For all I fucking
Yeah, she
know.
folds it into
She
swans.
folds it. She doesn't want to tip you well, so she gives you the origami 20 and calls it a
Mm.
day.
So so that's what they found in her purse. Then they took all the cash. They took not all of it, but just some of it. And I mean, then being an heiress to $1 million hotel chain, you would think that balled up cash in your purses is just an inappropriate way. But all it does, I guess, is really show us like how careless she is when it comes to money. Like, it just
Right.
doesn't, it's not important like it is to us. But apparently she just forgot it was in there. Right? Like that's just money. I don't think she did it on purpose. I think this is just like, oh, she went out that night and was like shoving the money back in her purse. And then when she was done, she put her purse up in her closet and that was it.
Right. She just has, hundreds of purses and everything else. So it's like she might not see that other purse again for a year, if ever. She might be donating those shits. It has the money in
Exactly.
there.
So, the idea that these two kids had was to take so little that the heiress wouldn't notice, so they could come back again. And could you believe that it fucking worked? Paris Hilton did not actually notice and did not report any of the burglaries up until this point.
That's a gamble. I don't do crime, folks. If I were to be going into her house stealing stuff, I am personally not going back repeatedly because you got in the first time for free. What if she updates her alarm system? I don't know. What if she's got fucking bodyguards in there? I'm not walking into
Dogs.
this house. Dogs. I'm not getting shot. I'm not getting arrested. I'm not doing anything. I'm
You getting shot by dogs.
getting shot at. That could work too. She's got little guard dogs dressed in
Little
bodyguard outfits.
Pomeranians.
Yeah.
So by the beginning of 2009, the Bling Ring was in full escalation mode. While this activity started as a twisted adventure for a small group of friends fueled by celebrity worship, it quickly ballooned into an organized crime enterprise. Between October and December of 2008, there had been 4 more burglaries of Paris Hilton's house.
Damn.
They went 5 fucking times to her house.
Listen, that power to them 5 fucking times because after the second or third, I would have been like, let's just clean her out and get the fuck out of here
Right?
for
They
good.
really had a lot of longevity in their vision.
I wonder how much they were taking each time money wise. Damn, because that like I don't if they only were taking like 300 $400 at a time, I'm just
Mhm.
like, you guys are idiots. Like your life was worth
I'm
that
sure it
every
was a
time you
lot
stepped in
more
there.
than that because it's
Oh
Paris
yeah,
Hilton. She's probably got a lot
true.
of money just hanging around.
In a world before digital payments and
I mean,
debit and credit.
2009?
So, well,
Debit credit
2009, think
cards?
about it. I'm just saying, though, but there wasn't Venmo. There wasn't like,
Right,
you know what I mean?
right,
There
right, right,
wasn't
right,
pay.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you
So,
needed cash. So by February 2009, there were allegedly more people involved. They brought in Diana Tomeo, who also attended Indian Hills High School, and Courtney Ames, who was an old friend of Rachel's who went to Calabasas High School.
okay.
So while Nick felt weird about bringing more people into this, he still oh boy, he still participated in planning a $2 million heist of Paris Hilton's jewelry. They
$2 million.
allegedly $2 million worth of jewelry they stole. It
Fuck.
was allegedly stolen by Roy Lopez, who cops say was brought in by Courtney Ames. And she and Roy had worked together at a Sagebrush Cantina, which is a bar and restaurant in Calabasas. So the designer goods that all these kids accumulated, uh, they started to just wear around the valley and to Hollywood clubs.
Oh, boy.
And they seemed to be insatiable and fearless. Like they had no fucking fear of getting caught. They just kept going. They allegedly kept on robbing even after Audrina Patridge posted a surveillance video. Do you know who Audrina Patridge is?
Mm-mm.
She
Not by
was
name.
she was a reality star born out of the hills, which was born out of Laguna Beach.
Okay, okay, okay. I haven't really watched The Hills. Like I've seen episodes here or there, so.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Um, so they ended up robbing Audrina Patridge's house. Let me just keep going in my story and not give you side in case I say it later. So they allegedly kept on robbing after Audrina Patridge posted a video of them on her surveillance. And the video was believed to be of Rachel and Nick. And she put it up on our website in February. And the video shows these two idiots walking up her back porch and going in and out of a sliding glass door that was unlocked in the backyard.
Okay.
They were not disguised past wearing a hoodie. Like, not even black clothes. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. It was totally
They
ridiculous.
really thought
So,
they were untouchable, apparently.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So Audrina had hoped that someone would come forward with the identity of the thieves, but miraculously, no one did. Even though the video was picked up by TMZ and ran on LA local news stations, no one was like, "Hey, I know who that is."
We're not touching that.
But Nick was watching, and he saw himself and Rachel on the surveillance video on TMZ and the news, and he just broke down. But again, Rachel was like, "It's fine. It's okay," because she's a psychopath. And according to the LAPD report, the Bling Ring collectively burglarized Rachel Bilson. You know who that is, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I know who Rachel Bilson is.
A full 6 times in April and May, taking nearly $130,000 in property. So much stuff like clothing, jewelry, makeup, handbags. and they tried to unload some of it on the boardwalk at Venice Beach, scoring a few $1,000s.
Wow. Okay. Damn. They were like, we got to get rid of all of this shit right now.
Mhm.
They're on to us. And publicly going out there towards the beach to sell that. That's a bold move.
Isn't
Bold fucking
that
move.
bold? I think
It's
I mean,
stupid as fuck. But listen, I'm
stupid.
just saying they really did walk around like they
Yeah.
don't give a fuck.
Well
So
well, and to be honest, like, I don't think I'm giving anything away at this point. That was, like, the extent of what they did to move anything after the fact. Like, they were not sophisticated enough to have any kind of system to offload or make any cash on this stuff. They mostly robbed these celebrities because they wanted their clothes to
right.
wear, because they thought that those celebrities were fashion icons and cool. Like, that's what this was all born out of. So, the ring targeted Orlando Bloom's home in July of 2009 because Rachel wanted the lingerie of Bloom's then live in girlfriend and later ex wife, Victoria's Secret model Miranda Kerr.
Okay. So far, none of these people are A-list to me. No disrespect,
That's what I'm
or
saying.
Orlando. I mean, Rachel Bilson's nowhere near close. Orlando Bloom, I guess, because it's 2009, people are
He
still
probably was
reeling off of
then.
Lord of the Rings. I don't even know if he was
Lord of
A-list
the
then.
Rings? What happened to Pirates of the Caribbean?
Oh yes, yes, that too.
Yeah,
And
he was
Troy,
A-list
and
Pirates of the
Troy.
Caribbean.
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right.
I don't know that anyone gives a shit about Miranda Kerr, but
Yeah, yeah.
so they knew Orlando Bloom was in New York shooting a movie, and this time they brought a full crew with them. Okay.
They just open up this van door. It's probably like 12 of
Seriously, it's
them.
like fucking Scooby Doo's van. Nick, Alexis, Rachel, and Diana got out of Rachel's white Audi A4, and the four kids walked up a hill backwards to Orlando Bloom's residence, which is a stark black mansion. So they had enough foresight to do it backwards so that the cameras, if there were any, wouldn't catch their faces.
Hmm.
Mm. So who's added to this crew, right? You have Nick and Rachel are the two that have been burglarizing for months. Um, Diana was brought in later. She was one of the two that they added in the second round of adding people. So the newest person is Alexis. And just keep that on the back burner.
Okay, new person is Alexis.
So they covered their faces with their hoodies to hide from the cameras because this wasn't their first rodeo. And Rachel cut a section out of the chain link fence surrounding the property so they could crawl through it. The foresight it takes to bring fucking snips, tin snips, to cut a chain link fence. What's so funny is like I did stupid shit like this. Like I had friends who had cut a hole in the fence of our high school so we could like go hang out under the bleachers in the summer. But like far less, I was way less cool than all this lunacy. Um, so they went around the house, checking all the windows and doors, finally to find an unlocked door by Bloom's pool area. And they went inside and they ransacked Orlando Bloom's house like like a police raid.
Okay.
That night, they allegedly stole close to $500,000 in Rolex watches, Louis
Damn.
Vuitton luggage, clothing, and artwork. I mean, they've really escalated here.
They did, but going into Orlando Bloom's home, I would assume he had all these things you just described that they stole.
So he
I
had the Rolexes they stole was actually like a vintage Rolex collection that
Oh
he
my
had.
gosh.
Yeah. Um, and this would be the only robbery Alexis claims to have participated in. And to this day, she still denies having gone there knowingly. So if you watch the documentary, in the movie, okay, for example, in the Sofia Coppola movie, Emma Watson plays Alexis
Okay.
and they portray her as this like ringleader, like she's Rachel. It's so weird how so many pieces of this show Alexis as this ringleader. And there's so much more side story to this, but I guess I'll give you just a little insight as to why they're doing that. So
Okay.
Alexis and her sisters were actually getting picked up by a network for like a Kardashian type reality show
Oh
because they were
God.
another set of like young rich kids in LA, going to nightclubs. They were modeling. Oh my god, if you watch the documentary and you see her mom interview, you're like, holy fuck, she's
Does
the
it
worst.
I was gonna say, does it make sense once you see the mom?
Yes, yes, it does. So because she had this like semi ascending reality fame, she was portrayed as the ringleader of this whole thing. Even into the in the press, in the courts, like it came out this whole thing, and she's like, I was not the person I wasn't even a part of this when it started. Like, what the fuck? Um, and I actually believe her for the record. For the record, I believe her because she talks about how she was like really deep in drug addiction
Okay.
during this time in her life because she was out in these clubs and young kids in this adult environment. And she said that this night she was actually high on heroin
Damn. Okay.
and like she got sick and had to go outside to throw up and pee in the bushes, and she was like a hot mess at Orlando Bloom's house. So much more to that story, and I highly, highly recommend everyone go watch this documentary. You need to go watch it when we hang up, Justin.
What's it on? What's it called?
It's
What?
on Netflix. It's called The
Oh,
Bling
okay.
Ring, the
The
true
Bling
the
Ring.
true
It's
story of the
actually
Bling
called
Ring.
the Bling. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you got Alexis puking in the bushes. Diana and Rachel went back inside because Rachel wanted to get Orlando Bloom's art off of his walls so that she could decorate her new house that she was going to be moving to with her father in the coming months. So in August, they allegedly robbed, you like how I said allegedly, we don't have
Oh,
lawyers yet, but if we need them, I said
allegedly.
allegedly a bunch of times. they
We covered
allegedly
ourselves. Yeah.
they allegedly robbed Brian Austin Green's home because Rachel liked the clothes of his wife at the time, Megan Fox.
Oh my gosh.
And this is just a side note, but I have such a girl crush on Megan Fox. I don't know if that's like such a strange thing to say. I
No,
think
Megan
she's
Fox is
gorgeous.
I mean, she's
She's
gorgeous.
gorgeous. I'm
I
like
mean,
semi
even
obsessed
after
with Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox right now.
oh
They keep
Lord.
talking about like
Are you?
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
obsessed with them together, but I mean, yeah, Megan Fox is Megan Fox. I feel like she's more beautiful now than ever. Like,
Ever.
and I
She's
again, she's
gorgeous.
like a mom of three and all this other stuff. But yeah, she's great.
I recently started listening to Machine Gun Kelly when he started putting out music that like emo Lisa would have loved.
Oh yes, when Eminem, knocked him into a whole other genre. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
That one. Yeah.
remember. Yeah.
Knock-
You try to rap battle Eminem, and all of a
yeah,
sudden now you're
sorry,
doing
sucker.
punk emo rock.
Yeah,
Okay,
but that's okay. He does a
yeah,
decent job at
he
it.
does it good.
And
He
he's
does
got
it
Travis
well.
Barker, so like you
Yeah.
yeah, really can't go wrong. Anyway, so Rachel wanted Megan Fox's clothes, which I fucking get because she's gorgeous and her clothes are gorgeous. And while they were there, the group also found and took with them Brian Austin Green's Sig Sauer 380 semi-automatic handgun. That's
The
fucking
fuck?
terrifying.
What the fuck? See, now you're taking it to the next level. I mean, everything you've been doing
You're
is so
stealing
fucked up.
firearms.
But now we're stealing firearms, which is probably more trackable than his
No
fucking
shit.
everything else.
Than Megan Fox's fucking underwear? Sure,
Yeah.
yes. So after the robbery, Nick sold most of Orlando Bloom's Rolexes and the gun that they stole from Brian Austin Green's house to an
Lord.
ex-con and club promoter that they met on their nights out with Alexis and her sisters, to a guy named Johnny Ajar. And his AKA is Johnny Dangerous.
Ooh, Johnny Dangerous. Don't
That's
fuck with
what he
Johnny
referred to himself as.
Dangerous.
They refer
Oh Lord.
like in real life, they AKA'd him Johnny Dangerous.
I just gotta backtrack for a second because
Yeah.
now we're stealing firearms, and now first off, and no disrespect, because I'm a Brian Austin Green fan. I get why that gun might have sold quite well back then because he was on Sarah Connor Chronicles on Fox with Lena Headey. Y'all know her as Queen Cersei from Game of Thrones, but that was a very underrated sci-fi show that just, yeah,
Do you
but
think that they stole it because it was his? I feel like they just stole it because it was there.
Oh, I thought they might have stole it because of his, because at the time he played a very like iconic character in the Terminator franchise. I figured they were like, we could
I
just
mean,
pawn his
maybe.
shit off, like, but you sold it to a dude named Johnny Dangerous, and I'm just gonna keep saying it like that because
Johnny
in my head it
Dangerous.
sounds like something out of Tombstone, like Johnny
Exactly right.
instead of Johnny Ringo is Johnny Dangerous. So
Okay, hold on while I try not to murder my mom because she. Can you hear me?
yeah, I hear you.
I
Yeah.
can't hear you if I do that. No,
No.
it's fine.
Okay.
My mom is like group texting us pictures of an alligator farm or some shit. Ah,
Oh, that's great. That's
yeah.
great. Keep that in here. I have
My mom is obsessed with alligators and she lives in Florida, which I guess is the right place to be. But she goes to like, they go camping and she'll go to like alligator experiences. How many times do you need to see alligators? I really don't know. They all do the exact same thing.
the numbness will probably wear off in like another few years, even if she's been
Justin,
out
she's
there
been
for a
there
few
for
years.
like
I
5
know,
years.
I know, but see a new gator every day.
Oh,
I don't know.
Angela. She'll call me and be like, there's an alligator in my yard. And she'll like go over there with the camera and she'll show me. It's not going away. This is for life. so, so they sold all the shit to Johnny Dangerous, right?
Yeah.
And it's all sort of like starting to catch up with them. They're becoming increasingly nervous about the activities. And in late July, Rachel Lee moved to Vegas to live with her father, like she had planned. That's why she stole the art, because she wasn't getting along with her mom and her stepdad, blah, blah, blah. Nick actually helped her move and drove through the desert with her car full of all the shit that they had stolen
Wow. Okay.
across state lines. Um, but she couldn't resist pulling off one more heist. She
That's
had
how
to
they
go
get you.
after her big fish, her Moby Dick, her idol, Lindsay Lohan.
Oh my goodness. This was like Lindsay Lohan on her fucking implosion too.
hmm
Like, this is the thing.
Um,
Why get so greedy? You guys have already almost been caught. Why do we have to go for one more whale? And why?
so right. You're already on film somewhere. But this girl Rachel's a fucking psycho. She's just a psychopath. So she wanted to be just like Lindsay Lohan, and she felt like that was the pivotal person that she needed stuff from.
Mm,
That's what this whole thing is fascinating to me about. It's like they don't even want to sell it. They just want to have
they
it.
just want to have it. It's
Yeah.
like a trophy for them.
Right. Right. So she returned to LA, and on a night in August, Nick, Rachel, and Diana allegedly burglarized Lindsay Lohan's Spanish style home in the Hollywood Hills for close to $130,000 worth of clothes and jewelry.
Okay.
Seems to be like a pivotal number for them. They only, what is that, like just what their arms can hold,
I'm
$130,000 worth
trying
of
to
stuff?
fathom it. It's what their arms could hold, maybe what they could just keep throwing in her little Audi. I don't know. Or it'd be pretty funny if literally it's like six outfits. They're just
Right?
like
I mean, could
famous
be.
dresses she
Yeah.
wore at an awards or something. I don't,
So, within 3 days of that robbery, the LAPD, with Lindsay Lohan's permission, released surveillance video from Lohan's home to TMZ. So now there's two videos circulating, Lohan's and Patridge's, of these two idiots and this third wheel stealing or breaking in. And it's making it all but plain to see that they had captured images of the same exact people and that there was a connection between all of these Hollywood Hills burglaries.
right.
So the tips started to pour in as the thieves' identities were unveiled.
Oh.
And the police had already had some information they were moving on, that someone overheard Rachel and Nick bragging about their exploits at a party.
Because
I'm
they're
rolling my
idiots,
eyes for
of
all the people
course.
not on the Patreon. Yeah, because they're idiots. And then the cops used Facebook to connect the dots between Rachel and Nick being friends, quote unquote, on there. Facebook will get you every time. We put so much of our lives on there. Um, so Alexis informed Alexis, the one who was at Orlando Bloom's, who was all heroined out. She actually called the cops and told them Rachel and Nick were the ones responsible for the Lohan burglary
Oh.
because she saw the video on TV and she did the call anonymously. And Nick's face had been captured on the surveillance, and that is what tipped her off that that was definitely them in the video. Nick was arrested and he initially denied having had anything to do with these burglaries, but he said the anxiety of it all was preventing him from being able to eat, sleep, and breathe normally, and he claims it's what made him lose his hair. Okay, sure.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mhm.
Mhm. So, this motherfucker sang like a canary. So much so that he confessed to the police about without getting a plea deal. And then he went on to tell them about crimes that they didn't even know had been committed.
Wow. You did all of that. You did all of that
All that.
snitching for free. You know, we covered Tim
Snitching for free
Allen.
and then like oversharing the shit out of it.
Oversharing out of all the stories we covered, we have talked about some snitches and the type of deals and things they got out of it. Don't do crime, folks, but at
Still
least
disgusting.
they had the common notion of, hey, I'm gonna snitch, I can get something out of it. He's over here like, my guilt, my hair,
My
it's
hair.
all unbearable. I'm just gonna tell you all this shit. And then they're gonna be like, thanks. Well, you're going to jail
Hold on, I
for
have
how yeah.
more that you
Yeah.
don't know about.
Uh-oh.
Um, so he told the police that the ring was still researching other potential targets, the Disney crew. Miley Cyrus, Zac Efron, Hilary Duff, and Vanessa Hudgens.
Wow.
That was
Okay. That
their next
that was a
rung.
very specific group, and I love that it's properly titled Disney because they were the rulers of Disney at
They
that
sure
time, I
were.
guess.
The
Yeah.
kingdom. So 2 weeks after Nick confesses, search warrants for the other ring members were issued by the LAPD. Rachel, Diana, Alexis, and what was the other one's name? Courtney
Courtney.
and Ray Lopez are all subsequently arrested for their connection with the burglaries. Now, if you remember, Ray was the one who was going in to steal Paris Hilton's $2 million worth of jewelry. So, Rachel Lee was taken into custody while at her father's home in Las Vegas, and police reported that she calmly asked them hypothetical questions about how it might help her if she did have some information and shared that information with the police because she's a psychopath.
I just have this image in my head of that person. It's just like, well, since you're here, like, totally hear me out. What if I were to have, or maybe a person would have information on said crime? Would maybe said person, I don't know, get off in like a couple years, maybe?
Yeah, like if I told
Like
you like things like where, like Louis Vuittons were and say like I knew where they were, would you be able to like cut me a deal?
like cut me a deal. Like I'm going and I'm cooperating, but maybe I
Can I
didn't
have
do it.
like can I have like a Starbucks every day while I'm in prison? Is
Yeah.
that possible?
I mean, these type of crimes are only going to get me club fed, right? Like,
So, um, they reported that she stated, no, nope. Their report stated she must have believed she had removed all incriminating evidence from her home. However, police did find a coat identified as belonging to Lindsay Lohan and a topless photo of Paris Hilton that she had left in her safe in her home. Seeing this, Rachel was reported to have instantly turned hysterical, acting as though she were suddenly sick and gagging as if she were going to throw up because she's a fucking psycho. Other items reported to have been seized from Lee were a jar of marijuana and more than $20,000 in $100 bills. I bet you that's what she stole from Paris Hilton's house. That's what was
yeah,
left.
that was what.
Twenty
Oh my
thousand
gosh!
dollars.
And where did she get that picture of her topless at? You
So the
just
picture was in Lindsay was oh my god was in Paris Hilton's safe that Roy Lopez broke into and stole the $2 million worth of jewelry, he also stole the
I
nude
I have
photographs.
I have so many questions. Why is Paris Hilton keeping nude photos of herself in a fucking safe?
Well, I guess she doesn't want the world to have them,
I guess I would have just
but why
fucking
not just
burnt
burn
them.
them? Yeah.
Yeah, see, there we go. You're
Uh,
keeping them in a safe. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
maybe she's not as smart as we're giving her credit for.
I don't know. Well, again, that's a whole other thing. Like, people with these nudes on their phones, shit like that. That's a thing of today. I guess back then it was take the nude, put it in a safe, save it for when you might
Take
find
the
someone
nude,
worthy to give it to them. I
go
don't
get
know.
it
I don't fucking know.
developed. Like I don't understand
I wasn't saying go get it
why.
developed. I'm just saying, I
But
guess
like she had to have had it developed
she
by
took it.
someone.
I could have been a Polaroid. You could. I don't know. I'm just saying. I
I
find this
guess.
funny.
Yeah, I guess it could have been a
So
Polaroid.
back then, before technology, you just took in your prime. You took a Polaroid picture
Stupid.
and you just kept it in a safe. This is really cracking me up. I'm gonna have to look into this
Yeah.
later.
Go watch the documentary. So, People magazine reported that the ring members, except for Lee, except for Lee,
Hmm.
were booked for residential burglary with bail set at $50,000 apiece. Simultaneously, Rachel Lee was held for possession of stolen property with bail set at $3,000. That was it. Could you fucking believe
Only
it?
3,000. Interesting.
Only $3,000.
She's not a celebrity, so I expected it to be like 300,000. But okay.
Well, Justin, the other people were set at 50,000.
Yeah.
She said at 3. They're listed as burglary and she's
Yeah.
listed as holding stolen property. Okay? The reality is that this fucking psychopath who did and started all of this is on $3,000 worth of bail. She's out. It's fucking
Crazy.
crazy. They got it
That's fucking
so wrong.
crazy.
So wrong. Vanity Fair did a whole article on this whole story when it came out. And that's one of my sources for this story. So you can go see the article if you go in our show notes. But she eventually was reported, Rachel was reported to be charged with residential burglary of Lohan, Hilton, and Patridge's heists.
Jeez.
So, where are these maniacs now? Any idea? Want to take a guess?
Probably fucking living life as motivational speakers and other things. I don't know. This world is so broken.
Okay.
I just gotta go on a quick segue here. I
Yep.
posted the other day. I'm sure Lisa was like, "What's wrong with Justin?" It was like 5 a.m. I posted this article about Bad Body, Baddie, however you pronounce her shit. The Cash Me Outside girl. She got her
Yeah.
fade. Like she got her
Isn't it Bad
fame.
Baby?
Yeah, yeah, bad baby, bad. But I don't care what it is. I
Justin,
own
catch me outside.
Cash Me Outside. She became famous for like disrespecting her mother on Dr.
On
Phil.
Dr. Phil.
Then she
Garbage,
tried to become a,
garbage.
a rapper, which was garbage. Then when she turned 18, which apparently a lot of creepy dudes were waiting for, she made
Pornos.
an OnlyFans and
Oh
she made
boy.
over like $50 million on it. So she got invited by
What?
Oxford.
$50
Yeah,
million?
yeah, she made over $50 million on
Holy
OnlyFans.
shit.
And then on top of that, now she's invited to public speak everywhere. And Oxford University, a very prestigious fucking school, invited her to be the speaker. I watched the speak her speech, standing ovation from the classmates, and it's literally her just talking about I claimed my life, I did my things, and I did my OnlyFans and made my money, and now I'm doing this here, and blah 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 blah. You can chase your dreams too, and yeah, it
Oh
makes me
yeah.
sick.
Chase your dreams. I cannot. Did you ever,
So
speaking of OnlyFans, did you ever, I'm fascinated by the way people make money on OnlyFans. So you got Bad Baby over here making $50 million, probably doing some like creepy sexual shit.
oh, 100%,
And
100%.
then you watch 90 Day Fiance, right?
Of course I do. Oh, are you gonna
The
talk about
girl with the
Stephanie
farts in a
Matos and the
jar.
farts in a jar?
Yo,
Yeah.
she made so much money, farts in a jar.
Don't get me fucking started on Stephanie. Well, even before she started 90 Day, when she first entered 90 Day Fiance, she was like this famous, YouTube
YouTube, yeah.
celebrity where she was doing all these sensual things, and then she complained 24/7. She's like, anyone that wants to date me is always about this, but I'm not like this. I'm like, you fucking
That's
put
your
this out
persona,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
Okay,
so did they get off lucky? What, let me hear the
okay.
bullshit.
So, the cops searched Ajar's home, and they found Brian Austin Green's pistol, thank God. And among items reportedly seized by the police at his house were 3 guns, drugs, and a laptop computer with aerial photos of 51 homes in Hollywood Hills. He was thus charged with additional offenses related to weapons and drug possession.
Damn.
He is now in the LA Twin Tower Correctional Facility charged with possession of narcotics and a firearm. So, Ajar's in jail. After learning that Orlando Bloom was willing to testify against her, Alexis Nears agreed to plead no contest to residential burglary, and she was sentenced on May 10th, 2010 to a jail term of 180 days with an additional 3 years of probation and was ordered to pay $600,000 worth of restitution to the actor.
Ah, there it is. All right, because I'm like, this is a easy fucking sentence, but 600 grand. Oof.
During her stay at the Central Regional Detention Facility, she occupied the same cell block as Ring Bling victim Lindsay Lohan. She was in the jail cell next to Lindsay Lohan.
That's fucking awkward.
Oh, but she says that they never even spoke to each other. And what are you going to even fucking say? So, out of the 180 days, is what she was sentenced to. After serving 30 days of her sentence, she was released. 30.
Mm-hmm.
In December 2010, she was arrested again, but this time it was for possession of heroin. And rather than being sentenced to further time behind bars, she was allowed to live at a luxury rehab facility in Malibu for a year, having been offered her stay for free of charge by the facility owner who attended her hearing. And it must be really nice to be a rich white girl in America.
I'm just saying, yeah. I'm like, man, this all sounds about white to me. Like,
Does sound about white, doesn't it?
oh
Um,
my goodness.
yeah, I mean, so she stayed at the facility for a year. And in an entry post on her blog, because who didn't plug in 2013, she stated that she had been sober since then and has become a counselor um, at the facility that she was staying at.
All right. Well, at least
Now she's
she's
a
clean
mom.
now. Okay.
Yeah. And if you watch the documentary, she is in it and she is interviewed. And she's like in the first 3 seconds, she like sits down. You could tell she's really uncomfortable. She's like adjusting herself and they're hooking up her mic and stuff. And she just looks at the producer and goes, ah, this was a really bad idea. Like I shouldn't have done this. Um, but yeah, so her story, there's so much I've left out about her story. I can't reiterate that enough. It's really interesting. There's just not enough time. So the alleged ringleader, Rachel Lee, was sentenced October 26, 2011. She had also pled no contest to burglary over $25,000 worth of valuables from Audrina Partridge's home. But
Okay.
here's the kicker. Judge Larry Fidler dismissed a charge of conspiracy to commit burglary, as well as 2 counts filed against her for receiving stolen property. He
Hmm.
also previously dismissed charges against her involving the Lohan burglary. The original charges alone stood to hold 2 to 6 years per charge, and Rachel was sentenced to 4 years in prison.
Ugh.
In March 2003, after serving 1 year and 4 months, she was released on parole. And honestly, I don't know how the cards fell like this for her. It's fucking
They
bananas.
always do, though. They always do.
On October 9th, 2012, after pleading no contest to having burglarized Lindsay Lohan's house, Diana Tomeo was sentenced to 3 years of probation as well as 60 days of community service. If convicted at trial, she would have faced up to 6 years in prison. Her lawyer claims she had admitted to the police she had broken in after they threatened her family with immigration consequences. Gotta love the police.
Hmm.
She is reportedly pursuing a career in fitness and nutrition, and she has credited her found relationship with God to have turned her life around.
So many cliches
Blah
at
blah
once.
blah.
I
Yeah.
don't have a
Mhm.
response
Yep.
for it. Well,
Yes.
found God after I was an asshole and doing these crimes, and
And now
now
I eat right
I'm
and I
using
exercise.
yeah, I'm using my looks to get 1,000,000 followers, and I
Uh-huh,
don't even
uh-huh.
use half the supplements that I'm advertising.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Cool, cool, cool. Roy Lopez Jr. was sentenced on November 8th, 2012, after pleading no contest to stealing over $1 million worth of jewelry. Sorry, hold on. $1 million worth of jewelry for Paris Hilton. He was given 3 years of probation and credited for 100 days he had already served in jail. All of the
Damn.
jewelry that was stolen was returned to Paris as they had no way of actually offloading anything, and he reportedly left California for a job in Texas.
Mm, okay.
I'm surprised, honestly. With the last name Lopez and stealing $2 million, he only
I
100 days of time
again,
served.
I'd have to see a picture of him. He could look white
That's fair.
Spanish. He could look white Spanish, and
Yeah.
also they said this motherfucker already had days accredited. So
Well,
like,
because they
okay,
arrested him. Yeah, I guess.
I
Whatever.
guess between the days accredited and the fact that he returned everything, at least
Yeah.
there's something viable there. But yeah, yeah.
Courtney Ames was sentenced December 14th, 2012 to 3 years of probation, 2 months community service. She had admitted to having received a jacket stolen from Paris Hilton's house. She is enrolled in college and is studying psychology, speech, and child development. No, thank you. All I think about is like all these people at the daycares and stuff that you bring your kids to. And
Mm-hmm.
the woman who's watching my son right now, she has like a degree in early child development, blah, blah, blah. No, she could be this girl. I mean, 3 years of probation? Was it a felony? Who knows at this point what they actually charged her with, what's on her record.
So
So
wild to me. So fucking wild to me.
terrifying. Like the last one with the murderer who used to give horseback riding lessons. Right? The
I
fuck
again,
the kids.
I'm all for second chances, but it's like these
Let's
people
leave
were
kids out of it.
yeah, let's leave kids out of it, but also this group of young people, they were repeatedly offending and
Yeah.
doing all of these thefts. So,
Yes.
that's crazy to me.
So, having pled no contest to the burglaries of Patridge and Lohan, Nick Pergo was sentenced on April 15th, 2013 to 2 years in prison. He received credit for a year of time already served and was further credited with a year for good behavior and work time.
Hmm.
He was reported to be living in Studio City as of June 2013, and he married his partner of 5 years. He truly didn't learn a goddamn thing from all of this. And if you watch the Netflix series, he has zero remorse. He is an attention seeker, and he's only looking for his 15 minutes of fame, which he got by doing this documentary.
Of course, of course.
Uh, like I said, there's so much more to the story that I left out about Alexis and her family and the movie that Sofia Coppola made. And there's some controversy around the lead detective who investigated this case. His name is Brett Goodkin. You can hear firsthand accounts from the victims of all of these crimes and how their lives have never been the same. And I know I always try to do a good job at
You
not
froze for okay, sorry, you froze for a second. You said you could have firsthand account of
of all of the victims' stories of these
okay.
crimes. So you were sitting down with Paris Hilton, Audrina Padridge, and I always try so hard to do a good job at not glorifying the person committing the crime and giving
Right.
homage to the victims. And I feel like I didn't really do that very well in this story because that's not the sensationalized part. But go do it for me. Go hear their stories and watch this docu-series on Netflix. I absolutely loved it. They really dive into like every nook and cranny, and I wrote so many pages to tell you this story, and I feel like I barely touched it.
Oh.
So go check it out and tell us, dear listeners, do you think that the time was worthy of the crimes? Did the right
Mm,
people get the right charges? What do you think?
let us know.
What do you think, Justin?
No, I don't
I
think
agree.
they I don't fucking think that they got the right charges at all.
I don't
But
think the right people fell in line with the right things. Like this detective got it all sorts of wonky. Um, But yeah, go check it out. I really, it's one of my favorites for sure. For sure. So that's the story of the bling ring.
Well, that was a hell of a story.
Right?
Okay. Okay. I'm definitely going to check out that documentary too at some
Definitely
point.
do
I'll
it.
add it on my list, watch it while I'm at work.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's definitely good. It's a lightheart, it's not like murder and heavy and crazy. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not horrendous.
I can't say the same for my
Oh,
story
good.
today, but
Oh, good.
Ooh. But yeah, today I'm covering Phil Spector. Uh for those of you who don't know who Phil
Me.
Spector is, and I swear, Lisa, if you see photos,
Okay.
don't look up photos because
Okay.
it's probably
Okay.
gonna reveal some shit. But
Okay. Okay.
you'll know later when we get to it. You can look at photos. But
Okay.
Phil Spector was an American songwriter and he's a record producer that was best known for his work as a producer in the 60s. He was a big entrepreneur, record
Hmm.
labels, all this. He had the opportunity to work with a variety of different renowned music artists that you all know during his time as a record producer for the Beatles, Ike and Tina Turner, the Crystals. He even started his
Huh.
own record company called Phillies Records back in 1961, which made him the youngest label owner in America at the time when he was 21 years old.
Hmm.
So like yeah, he's legit.
Okay. Okay.
We're going to talk about his potential descent if there is such a thing. I'll let you decide.
Oh
But
boy.
let
The
me
hell
give you a
does
little
that mean?
back history. We'll find out. Phil Spector was born. Hold on one second. Yeah, Phil Spector was born on December 39 in New York City as a first generation immigrant of a Russian Jewish family.
Hmm.
They immigrated to the Bronx before he was, and I'm sorry, they immigrated to the Bronx before he was born and anglicized their family name from Spector, which was Spektor. They changed it with a K. They removed the K to create Spector, Spector. His
Americanized.
father, yeah, they Americanized it. His father unfortunately committed suicide in April of 1949 when Spector was only 9 years old.
Oh.
A few years later in 1953, his mother decided to move the family across the country to LA after she was able to find some work as a seamstress.
Hmm.
So it was during his time in LA when Spector started to develop his interest in music. He learned how to play the guitar as a teenager and he began performing in front of crowds soon after. Even playing in a talent show at his high school, Fairfax High School. Around this time, he started to get close with other local aspiring musicians around LA and he started to make connections in the industry. So after graduating from high school, he started his first music group called the Teddy Bears in 1957
That's
with some of his close
cute.
friends. He was already on track. He's like
Yeah.
developing the names, he's organizing everything. While he was still performing as part of the Teddy Bears, Spector met with a record producer by the name of Stan Ross, who is the co-owner of Gold Star Studios in Hollywood. And he started to learn the ins and outs of record productions under his tutelage. He continued to make music with the Teddy Bears and even released a song titled To Know Him Is to Love Him in 1958 that reached number one on the Billboard Hot 100 charts.
Hmm.
The song was
Sounds
dedicated.
familiar.
You might have heard it. Yeah, I feel like nowadays you're only gonna hear it if you go to like a CVS or a hardware store or something random. But they have their yeah,
Uh-huh. You nailed it.
the
Hardware
song
store.
the song was dedicated to his late father, and the title was actually derived from part of the words etched on his gravestone.
Hmm.
So his time with the group clearly did not last much longer as they decided to disband following the year in 1959 as he started, continuing his own solo thing. Before the group was broken up, Spector had met a former promoter called Lester Sill while recording an album with the Teddy Bears, and they formed his record label Phillies Records together just a few years after he parted ways with his group in 1961. The label itself was able to find success right from the start with the artists they signed, as many of them were able to release singles that were able to chart well on the Billboard Hot 100. So in 1962, like Phil Spector bought out Sill's share of the record label to make him the sole owner of Phillies Records and the youngest record label owner in American history at the time when he was just 21 years old.
Damn.
It yeah, like, this is fucking crazy, like, this guy had
He's been working his whole life.
exactly, he's literally been working his whole life. He's, like, forming band in high school and shit, he's doing all these other things he was already promoting and getting the label. So his final singing at the Phillies Records was, I'm sorry, singing. His final signing, blah, blah, at, Phillies record was Ike and Tina Turner, who he signed in April of 1966 before he
No big
decided to dissolve. Yeah, no big deal. No big deal. He signed them in April of 1966 before he decided to dissolve that label in 1967 due to the loss of enthusiasm for the recording industry. So this guy, literally working from forever, decides to get into music. He learned the ways from one producer. He's like, I'm gonna build a record label, and then he's just like, this doesn't amuse me anymore.
right. That's what I was gonna say. This is his this is his own loss of interest that he was just like, meh, I'm not doing this
Yeah,
anymore.
that was it.
Okay.
Straight up. He was like, I'm done with the recording industry. I'm done. So after that, for some time, Spector stayed away from the limelight before he was invited to go to London by the new manager of the Beatles at the time, who was Alan Klein, to piece
Hmm.
together their recording sessions and turn it into their final album together, which was Let It Be. The album itself was released a month after the Beatles had broken up, and it ended up chopping the charts. For those of you who don't know, in both the US and UK, for the remainder of the decade, Phil Spector started to become more reclusive because of a nearly fatal car accident he suffered in 1974, where he flew out of the windshield of his car.
Oh God.
And I mean, to put this in perspective, people, like, for our younger listeners, I mean, all these cars now are like high level durable plastic. I mean, in the 70s, these were just pure
Tanks.
steel. These
Yeah.
were death machines. So if you got in a car crash back then, your chances are you're not surviving it. And he fucking flew out the
Oh,
windshields.
that's like nightmare inducing.
Yeah,
The windshield.
the windshield. Like, the impact of that alone can kill you.
No doubt. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that happened. That's what made him kind of reclusive. And even after his accident, he continued to work in music production behind the scenes prior to becoming relatively, whatever, inactive through like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, right before we get into the meat of the story.
How old was he?
By what, the 2000s?
Yeah.
He was a very old gentleman. He was
Yeah.
60s. Yeah, because again, he was born, what did I say, 1939. So he was up
Okay.
there.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Everything probably hurt too, I imagine.
Oh yeah, everything
Full
probably
body hurt.
probably hurt. When he got into the accident in 74, I mean, he was already in his late 30s, early 40s. So
Yeah,
yeah,
everything hurts for me now. I don't know about you, buddy, but like,
yeah.
that's when things start really falling off. So
So yeah, picture getting into that late 30s, early 40s, and then
yeah,
as
that's
we
why
go
he
through the
stopped doing
decades, it's
everything
getting
because
worse. Yeah.
everything hurts.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Horrible.
here we go, folks.
Oh boy. Okay, so he's 60 something years old in the 2000s, right? That's where we're at.
The incident that I'm going to go to is 2003. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm just doing math now.
Well, you knock yourself out. I don't math.
um, uh, Listen, I'm the worst. What did I say?
There's
He
no
was
way.
born 39.
Mhm.
Okay. So to paint a picture, I'm going to go into 2003. The man was already 64 years old.
Okay. Do I not
D-
want this picture?
It's up to you.
Okay.
During the early morning hours of February 3rd, 2003, Spector met with Lana Clarkson at the House of Blues in LA, where she was working as a hostess at the time. They left together in Spector's limousine and went to his mansion. And I'm going to butcher the fuck out of this. They went to his mansion in Alhambra, California, where his driver waited in the car. Around an hour after they had arrived at Spector's residence, the driver heard a gunshot coming from the house, and Spector exited the home through the back door with a gun in his hand. When the
His own
authority,
house.
his own house,
Okay.
folks, this was not her house, it was his own house. When the authorities arrived on the scene, they found Clarkson's body slumped over in a chair with a gunshot wound in her mouth and several of her teeth scattered all over the carpet.
Oh god, that's a horrible detail.
Very horrible detail.
Oh. Okay.
When questioned about the incident by Esquire magazine, Spector stated that her death was an accidental suicide and that she had kissed the gun before it had gone off. Even though he was previously quoted in affidavits saying that he had shot her. This was made known when his driver. Oh, go ahead. What were you going
I'm confused.
to say?
There's so many versions of this story already in the first 2 seconds.
Hmm.
So, first of all, she was pretty young probably, I'm guessing, right? If she was, like, working at a bar in
Yeah,
LA.
she was much younger than him.
Mhm.
He was probably
Probably could have
double
been
her
her
age.
dad. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she kissed a gun and it accidentally went off.
That's what he was alleging
But in
in
an
one take.
affidavit, is it illegal? Like a police affidavit?
Correct.
He says he shot her.
He's saying that he shot her.
All right, I'm tracking.
This was made known when his driver, Adriana D'Souza, made the initial 911 call to report the incident
Is
and
this
asked
driver a
the.
female?
No, his driver's a male. Adriano.
Gotcha.
Adriano. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
D'Souza. Yeah. That all became known when he made the initial 911 call to report the incident and asked the authorities to come to the home.
Hmm.
So he had told this Spector told D'Souza before they arrived that he thought he had killed her, but changed his statement saying that it was an accident. It was an
Oh.
accident. However,
Mhm.
they were unable to find any forensics evidence that showed his fingerprints on the gun.
Okay.
So
Is
this
it
was.
his gun? Does
We're
he
gonna
own the
get
gun?
there. We're gonna
Okay.
get there. Okay.
Because what that makes no sense. If it's his gun, then there should be something on there. Okay,
Right.
I'll just shut up. Go ahead. All my true crime knowledge is ringing off in this bullshit story he's got.
Oh yeah, the bullshit detector is like
Yeah, oh, yeah.
the little needles breaking out of the device, mind you.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
So as Lisa pointed out, like, is it his gun? Is it not his gun? It's kind of fucking weird.
Is he
Well,
not sure?
I'm gonna just throw out there that this was not the first incident that occurred where Spectre was known to have pulled a gun on a woman. You
Cute.
know, when this was all getting ready to potentially go to trial, because they, one minute he's saying he didn't kill her, the next he's admitting he killed her. So this was going to go on a huge trial, which it did. According to the findings of the prosecution team when they were doing all the research on to get this motherfucker, there were at least, sorry, my context, there were at least four other incidents where Spectre was known to have pulled out a gun on different women when
4?
becoming enraged. Four. Four.
Why is
Okay.
no one taking this man's gun away? 4?
Four. Four, I say.
4, I s
Four fucking incidents, okay?
Okay. Uh-huh.
Anytime he became enraged.
Yeah, sure, I'm sure. There's more
And
than 4, I'm sure.
and oh,
4 told.
clearly he's got some weird fucking gun fetish. I don't know. He says when he gets enraged, but I don't really know. I think this is part of
Got some
his weird.
LDE. The
Yeah,
LDE is really showing.
he's got some weird gun kink. Anywho, I don't I don't know. But in each of those incidents, the one common denominator that they started to find out is Spectre had been drinking at the time, and he would become aggravated when the woman declined his advances toward them.
I mean, that's little dick energy if I ever heard it.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
And like, oh god, being a woman is so hard. I just have to say, like
No, I
those
I I
those
hear
entire
you.
scenarios of having men, you know, come on to you in any way in a bar in any kind of scenario, especially if you're like one on one with a stranger in their home, it's very dangerous. But as a woman, you're like, how do I approach this with this person? Like, what is my gut? Can I tell them to go fucking kick rocks? Or do I have to play nice for fear of how they react? You
Right,
know?
there might be a violent reaction, which is fucked up that you even have to
Well, you're like,
consider
no,
that.
listen, I'm not interested. And they're like, well, you're a bitch,
Yeah,
right? That's what
yeah.
you get. So it's like this it's fucking hard, man, to know what the right thing to do is to protect yourself. And it's messed up. Like if you have a daughter, you need to teach her these are the ways of the world. Some girls
Yeah.
figure it out as they go through experiences, but sometimes, the better thing to do is to equip them with these skills. But yeah, man. So
my
I'm off my
my
soapbox
kids
now.
will
It's
be
fucked up.
no again I can't say because obviously I'm a man, but like I've seen it firsthand with like so many girls and shit
Oh
that
yeah.
we've
You've been there, I'm
known.
sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, like I get it, and it's just trying to piece all of it together. So he probably went to the fucking restaurant. He was probably, for all I know, he could have been a local there. She could
Right.
have been like, oh, old Phil, ha ha ha, and then he invited her to the house for something potentially that he displayed as maybe
Platonic, or
platonic, yeah.
she
And
could
then
gain something from
and
maybe
then
making
from
music.
there, he made an advance probably. She said no, his ego was crushed. He did what he did, allegedly. Um,
Male ego is very fragile.
but it's again, it's wild. Like the prosecution team stated that he allegedly done this to the other four people within their research. To keep the women from walking out on him.
Mm,
So, when the prosecution team developed all of this information and was getting ready to go to court, this was like a nationwide trial that was going down. And
yeah.
when they, again, on trial, he kept stating he did not shoot her. He stuck with the story of the accident and all these things. They were like, surprise, motherfucker. We know four other victims. This is what's potentially going down. Even then, once they hit him with all of that, his defense team was going all out trying to prevent the other women from coming forward and
Of
sharing their
course.
testimony in court. But the judge actually, because like they found the women, they found a few of the
Yeah.
women,
Well, and you
and
got to find the women to be willing to step forward, right?
exactly, they
And that's,
found
I could just have to say, it makes me so mad because every story we tell, it's always about women coming forward with information. It's never like the men need to come forward.
I agree, and it's fucked up. It's like this weird fucking double standard.
It's horrible. It's so scary.
But that's the thing. So
Yeah.
Phil Spector's team, I guess, was trying to intimidate them not to come out or
Cute. Again,
suppress it. But
I mean, that's not
they
illegal or anything.
no, it's not illegal, but within the context of the court too, even the way they were doing it, it's like, well, you've discovered all of this now, which isn't relative to the case. Like they were trying to spin it legally so these women can't
Oh.
come out.
Mhm.
But the judge
Said
overruled
sorry
all
about
that.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was like, sorry about it. I need to hear about this. The
Mm,
judge allowed the other women to speak because he deemed that their testimony was crucial in showing a recurring trend in
right.
Spector's behavior. And
Right.
that
This
his
isn't
murder of
one
Clark.
time crime of passion. This
Exactly.
is this is his pattern.
Exactly. This is a pattern. This is not an accident. You can't spin it that way. We have now found proof in a traced history that you are known to do shit like this.
Mhm. Yikes.
So, yeah, so the judge allowed the other women that had came forward to testify, and it's just sickening because it was it was all the same exact shit. I met him at this bar. I met him at this restaurant. I met him at an event. We go back to the house. We're just talking about, music. We're talking about this and that, his famous production labels, and then he makes a move. I'm not interested. He pulls out a gun. Some of them didn't ultimately necessarily do anything with him beyond once the gun came out, but at least one person felt obviously like
Compelled to.
yeah.
Oh boy.
So
That's horrible.
it just
Ugh.
fucking sucks.
Okay.
So although yeah, no, he's a piece of shit. Once that was all there to connect the trend, and prove that this was not an accident, they had a lot to get this motherfucker. He initially, I'm gonna go with this. Although he was apprehended at first during the initial arrest, he was allowed to be free on $1 million bail before his trial even began on March 19th, 2007. They allowed the court proceedings in the LA Superior Courts to be nationally televised, which I told you.
Court TV is very famous in the 2000s.
Before and during his trial, Spector went through the services of at least three different attorney teams, including Robert Shapiro, who was
Oh
part
my
of the
god.
defense team for O.J.
Mhm.
Simpson.
OJ.
Yeah. The defense team focused their case on his claim that Clarkson's death was an accidental suicide instead of murder.
So he went through 3 defense teams.
And what does that tell you right there? These motherfuckers were like, every time they
He
attempted to
was
do
like, "No,
something,
you're fired. I don't wanna do that. No,
yep,
you're fired. I don't wanna do
I
that."
don't want to do that. Or every time his team thought they got somewhere, prosecution was already ahead of them and had trapped them and set them up.
Right.
So again, money though,
Sorry,
million
that's
dollar
my mic.
bail. No, you're good. $1 million bail. I'm sure he was able to do that, no problem.
I'm sure, yeah.
You had enough money to go through 3 legal teams. I'm sure you could do what you want.
Mhm.
On September 26, 2007, first
Okay.
trial was declared a mistrial because of a hung jury, where only 10 of the 12 jury members voted for a conviction.
Oh my god, could you
I The
imagine
look on
being the
your face,
two-person holdout on that? Oh my god.
you're gonna have to live with that shit forever.
Ever, and well,
Forever.
it's so hard. Have you ever been picked for jury duty?
I
Like, to
have
sit on a
not.
jury?
I have not yet. I Every time I'm supposed to go and I go, they don't pick me and it's cool.
Mm,
So
it's so cool. I did it once. I think I talked about it once on here. I called the guy an asshole.
yes.
But, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine being in, like, I mean, mine was, like, a car accident case. So, to raise the stakes to murder or not
Yeah.
is hard. It's hard, and especially, I mean, you gotta be really a strong individual to hold out in the face of 10 other people, you know? You and one buddy are like, "I can't say beyond the shadow of a doubt that this is."
Well, that's the thing. You and I have had that talk before. I'm like, I feel like it's gonna be, like 12 Angry Men for me, like the
Yeah,
movie, the
you'd be one of
play.
the 2.
Ooh, in this case, nah, I
Yeah,
might
I
have
mean, you
been.
don't know. You don't
It's
know.
true,
Maybe.
it's true. I might have been like, this motherfucker's guilty. But no, you really want to be sure, yeah, beyond
Yeah.
reasonable doubt. So the first trial was a hung
Gross.
jury. As I told you, 10 out of 12 voted for the conviction.
Crazy.
The forensics expert of the first trial, Henry Lee, was also accused of suppressing evidence that the district attorney claimed could have proved his guilt in the case. Are we surprised by this?
No.
No, we're not fucking surprised by this.
Huh.
He probably
Do we know
bribed
what it
Henry
was?
Lee. I'm assuming it's got to be ballistics or like
Mm.
residue of the, because again, remember
Gunshot residue.
they kept claiming his fingerprints aren't on a gun, but it's his gun. As you know, he's pulled the shit out 4 other times. Or whatever. He
So if
probably
there's
wiped it.
no fingerprints, he wiped them clean. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that
That's
went
evidence
down.
enough to me.
Mhm. So that went down, and then they held a mistrial that started on October 8th, 2008, practically a year after the first mistrial. And it was with this
Another mistrial?
well, the first one was due to a hung jury.
Okay.
This one on October 8th, 2008 was also a mistrial, and it was the same judge. And this
Okay.
time it was not televised. Although it
Okay.
was not brought up in the first trial, observers identified that the traumatic head injuries that Phil Spector suffered in his car accident in 1974, combined with his known substance issues, could have contributed to his violent behaviors, as studies have shown.
Right. Like the frontal lobe. This is like that Aaron Hernandez
Or
brain damage.
when you covered our boy from Sons of Anarchy,
Mm-hmm.
so
What is his name? Johnny Lewis?
Johnny Ray Lewis, yeah.
Yep.
Or was
Yep.
it Johnny Lee Lewis?
I
Johnny,
think
I
it's
was,
Johnny Ray Lewis. I think you were right
yeah.
the first time. Yeah, I
So
mean, for sure, that could totally fuck with you and the way that you act and react.
that created the second mistrial.
Oh,
And it's just fucking crazy because like I don't want to justify his actions. I'm not necessarily, but when
but
I
you
was
can.
first doing research for this too, and I came across the car accident, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah,
Cause
but
he
I mean, does that negate the fact that you committed murder? No. That shouldn't it shouldn't
it
really
doesn't
matter.
no, it's not negating, but again, there was a correlation between that car accident. He started going into random isolation, all this
It's
other
so
shit.
hard. It's so hard to, like,
Yeah.
discern whether or not, because can you plead insanity from traumatic brain injury? I don't know. I don't
I don't know.
know.
Maybe we'll find out.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I'll just shut up and
Who
take that back.
knows? But listeners, you guys gotta start chiming in as you're listening to our stories. Let us know if you think there's leeway with some of these people, or
Hmm.
if you're siding with the head injury thing, or if you're doing this or that. Just let us know. Like, we're curious to hear other people's opinions on this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm rolling my eyes because I keep thinking like, well, if you did it 4 times, like how fucking much leeway do you really
Yeah,
get?
exactly. You did it 4 fucking times, and this time you actually killed someone. So,
Right. I mean, we've
or
only
allegedly,
escalated.
we don't. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you're just supposed to be a serial killer. Like,
I
you
don't
know what I
know.
mean? Like it all those are serial killer tendencies too, right there. So like,
I mean, even for me to paint the picture, he kind of went all talented Mr. Ripley at a young age when
uh-huh.
he just obsesses over things and starts to
Hmm.
build from there. You just decided to get into music. You met that producer. He mentored you. You studied all the ways to the point where you're now mimicking that and becoming that at such a young
Embodying
age.
it, yeah.
It was weird.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was the old second mistrial.
Okay.
And eventually, the case went to the jury on March 26, 2008,
For a third trial.
for the third trial.
Okay.
And once that went down, just 19 days later, the jury returned a guilty verdict based on the evidence provided.
So they went to trial, and in 19 days, they went through
They
their
were
whole
like, "We're
trial and
getting this
deliberation,
motherfucker
and
done.
they got
We're getting
okay.
Yeah, they were like,
That's very
we're
fast.
getting this shit done
Yeah.
now." Like,
We can't spend any more money on this.
but that's probably what went down. He went through 3 legal teams. He probably was wasting all his fucking money,
Well, the
burning
state
through it.
probably couldn't fucking
Yeah.
afford to try him again after that. They were like, "Okay, enough."
Yeah, they were like, "Enough is enough. We're gonna get him now." So yeah, they
So they found him
returned with
guilty.
the guilty verdict based on the evidence provided, and Phil Spector was sentenced to 19 years to life in the California state prison system and was immediately taken into custody.
Yeah, well, 19 years at his age is probably life.
Exactly. His legal team tried to appeal the decision of the courts over the next few years, but their attempts were declined by multiple different appeal courts, including the US Supreme Court. They were not overturning that. Because of his declining health, he was sent to the California Healthcare Facility, which was a prison hospital facility in Stockholm, California,
Hmm,
starting in 2013.
okay.
So, like, this again, to paint the picture, he was taken into custody March 2008, but then eventually they transferred him into the hospital, which is, I mean, he's away from everyone else. He's, you know, protected, if you will. I don't want to say protected, but I'm
I
just,
mean, I don't know that
yeah.
people are gonna give a shit about Phil Spector in
Yeah.
prison.
So he ended up spending the remainder of his life in a correctional facility in the state of California before his death on January 16th, 2021, at the age of 81. His daughter, Nicole, said that his death was caused in part by his COVID-19 diagnosis in December 2020.
Wow.
Which, for those of you who don't realize, yes, when COVID-19 hit, I mean, it was affecting everyone everywhere, including prisons.
I
Like,
mean, especially
imagine,
prisons.
yeah, imagine being a worker in a prison or just being any of the inmates in prison. If one person gets it, everybody in that facility is
You
fucking
can't
getting it.
quarantine. Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like that's something that, at least for the first time in our lifetime, really um was like they didn't know what to do. Like they just
Exactly.
started letting people out of jail because because
Yeah, I
they didn't know
remember
what
that.
else to do. And they were like, "Oh, like you, bling ring idiot. Bye. See you later." Like all these crimes
Yep.
that are maybe not violent or white
They
collar
were
or
they were
whatever.
just dismissing them and releasing them because it's like,
They're
you
like,
stay in here,
if you
your two
stay in here,
years
you
going to
might
turn into
die.
a potential death sentence. Yeah,
Yep. Yep. Oh, pot. Bye. See you. Bye. Um,
crazy.
which I
S
mean probably wasn't the worst thing. If you're letting out non-violent criminals with like drug charges, like it's probably marijuana's legal in like a half the country or whatever,
Yeah, so I mean, all of that should
quarter of
be
it.
expunged anyway. That's gonna be a whole
Right.
other podcast
Yeah, oh
right there,
yeah.
but
For another podcast.
for another podcast. But yeah, his daughter Nicole claimed that it was in part
Yeah,
because of his
well,
COVID
he's not
19
one of the ones who
diagnosis.
should have been released. So I mean, that's just it
Yeah.
is what it is. You don't
Well,
release murderers from prison because everyone's got COVID.
exactly. So she was saying, along with the COVID diagnosis and an array of all these other health issues he had suffered throughout his life, bam, that's what got him.
Yeah.
But he was only 3 years away from being eligible for parole in 2024 at the time of his death. Despite his legacy in the music industry, I mean, it's tarnished. It's gone. He will
I mean,
forever
yeah.
be remembered for the murder incident that resulted in him spending the remainder of his life in prison. Like that's it.
Okay, now I gotta look him up.
Yeah, and I'm sure as soon as you try to search for him, it's gonna show that infamous picture of him sitting in court. And I mean, yeah, yeah.
Ooh, ooh, look at him.
He gives off very curb your enthusiasm vibes.
He is gross. He's scary looking.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get this to work. Oh yeah. Oh, oh, oh.
Oh yeah, so well see, yeah, see you got decent photos of him, but like look at his trial photos. He's got
Oh, yeah. He
and
looks
I
like
say
the fuck.
those are decent, but yeah, this is what I'm saying. The whole
What is
talented
this?
Mr. Ripley thing. Yeah, see, look at that.
What is
It's like
this?
it's like
What
a
is this? What
that's
is
how he
this?
was walking in there. Yeah, that's
Fucking
crazy.
ramen noodles on his hair. He looks like a ramen
Again,
noodle chia pet.
I just felt like if I ever met if Kramer from Seinfeld, if we were ever introduced to like his father, we met his mother on the show, but if we ever met his father,
Look at how big they made this.
yeah, that's wild. Is that
Photoshop is
photoshopped right
yeah.
there? It's okay.
Oh yeah, that's Photoshop. That's fantastic.
Yeah. But
Oh, that's hysterical.
yeah, Phil Spector.
Do you think that's
That's
a wig?
I
That might be
I
a
don't think
wig.
so. It could be, but I mean, of all the wig choices,
That's a
I don't
bold
know.
one. That's a bold one. Hilarious. He looks like Mr. Bean.
Mm-hmm. In those younger photos, yeah.
Yeah.
So when he, again, when he canceled the his own record label and was like, I'm not enthusiastic about it anymore. I was just like, this motherfucker could have been wielding guns on women for like 50
Decades.
years. We
Yeah.
just would never know.
Hmm. I bet you
So
he was. I bet you he was. There's no way that he only got old and was like, I like guns now and I'm pissed off, so I'm going to wield them at you.
yeah, yeah.
There's no logic to that.
Yeah, something was up the whole time. It's just now things are more public. So
Right. Yeah. And he looked like Mr. Bean. Like he's not like pulling women easy, you know?
no, no, no.
So yeah, he probably faced quite a bit of rejection that he didn't take well to and reacted the way that little men react.
That's wild. But listen, it took 3 trials. I'm just glad the third trial they got him. Like,
Yeah. I can't believe that he made it through 3 trials and they kept going. They were like, "We know that you did this. We are going to nail you for it."
we're going to nail you
'Cause
for it.
usually they don't go to 3.
I think what sealed the deal, honestly, was the fact that that prosecution team traced the history of all that shit.
Mhm.
If they didn't already traced it and had it prepared within the first trial, at that first trial would have mistrial, that would have been it. I'm
Yeah,
sure he would have
right.
been free. But
Even a second mistrial? That's crazy.
I mean, the second one, I'm like, damn, because again, they pulled out the whole head trauma and the substance, and I'm like, ooh. But yeah, this third trial, all the facts are there. Both sides are already there. Just put
Mhm.
it all together and get it done. Like,
Yep.
yeah. So they got him. I'm glad
I got
for
him.
once it's very rare in our
So we
stories
have a
where
an ending that ends the way it should.
exactly. We're always like this motherfucker went to jail and
Mm.
supposed to do 20 years and only did a year and a half on
Did
probation.
3
Like it's
months, right?
yeah, yeah. We're always hitting you with that. And that's why I'm like, don't do crime, folks, because I'm sure some of y'all are listening, like, well, if times are hard right now in a post-COVID world. I mean, if I'm only gonna get a year supervised, I might
Right.
as well, but don't do it. It's not worth it.
Oh my god. Well,
That's all I got. That's
goodbye,
Phil
Mr. Bean.
Spector.
Well, I mean, yeah, I still don't have any idea. So he never had a legacy to tarnish in my brain because I still really can't like plug him into anything.
Yeah. He's produced a lot more hits too. It's just I don't want to glorify him, so I kept this short and
I'm a huge
simple.
Beatles fan too, so I must be
Just
not
blurring
very
out.
good at being a Beatles fan because it says "Let It Be" on the side of my cup.
Yeah, that's too. Oh my god, that's too funny.
Right?
Yeah, he helped with that. Let's go back to this. All right. So, when you look back at the history of the creative arts, it takes a lot of darkness to create the light the arts bring to the world.
Thanks for joining us this week. And if you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and go over to Apple Podcasts to rate and review.
Please check out our sources listed in the episode notes. They're pretty wild and amazing.
They sure are. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Crime of the Arts Podcast.
We're looking forward to having you back next week. Until next time, peace out, everybody.
Peace out, everybody.
Yeah.